Hello and welcome back to a chapter a day. Today is Tuesday, July. I think I said June yesterday. I think I did, If I did, I'm so sorry. But if I remembered and said the right thing, good. But I know how it is. Sometimes my brain just takes a little while to catch up with the months, the dates rather. So it's July 2nd. Yes. Whew, okay. And we will be reading Deuteronomy chapter 16. So, we read yesterday Moses' instructions to the children of Israel once again that about things like the 7-year release of the debt that's owed to them for servants or enslaved people, that they should be set free except they wish not to be. Again, clean and unclean meats, things like that. And the firstborn of the flocks that are males, they are not to be used like the other animals because they are special. They are God's animals. They are dedicated unto God. All the firstborn males of animals and humans. So, chapter 16. Observe the month of Abib, and keep the Passover unto the Lord thy God. For in the month of Abib the Lord thy God brought thee forth out of Egypt by night. Thou shalt therefore sacrifice the Passover unto the Lord thy God of the flock and the herd in the place which the Lord shall choose to place his name there. Thou shalt eat no leavened bread with it. 7 days shalt thou eat unleavened bread therewith, even the bread of affliction. For thou camest forth out of the land of Egypt in haste, that thou mayest remember the day when thou camest forth out of the land of Egypt all the days of thy life. And there shall be no leavened bread seen with thee in all thy coast 7 days. Neither shall there anything of the flesh which thou sacrificest the first day at even remain all night until the morning. Thou mayest not sacrifice the Passover within any of thy gates, which the Lord thy God giveth thee. But at the place which the Lord thy God shall choose to place his name in, there thou shalt sacrifice the Passover at even, at the going down of the sun, at the season that thou camest forth out of Egypt. And thou shalt roast and eat it in the place which the Lord thy God shall choose. And thou shalt turn in the morning and go unto thy tents. 6 days thou shalt eat unleavened bread, and on the 7th day shall be a solemn assembly to the Lord thy God. Thou shalt do no work therein. 7 weeks shalt thou number unto thee. Begin to number the 7 weeks from such time as thou beginnest to put the sickle to the corn. And thou shalt keep the feast of weeks unto the Lord thy God, with a tribute of a freewill offering of thine hand, which thou shalt give unto the Lord thy God, according as the Lord thy God hath blessed thee. And thou shalt rejoice before the Lord thy God, thou and thy son and thy daughter and thy manservant and thy maidservant and the Levite that is in thy gates, and the stranger and the fatherless and the widow that are among you, in the place which the Lord thy God has chosen to place his name there. And thou shalt remember that thou wast a bondman in Egypt, and thou shalt observe and do these statutes. Thou shalt observe the Feast of Tabernacles 7 days. After that thou hast gathered in thy corn and thy wine. And thou shalt rejoice in thy feast, thou and thy son and thy daughter and thy manservant and thy maidservant, and the Levite, the stranger and the fatherless, and the widow that are within thy gates. 7 days shalt thou keep a solemn feast unto the Lord thy God in the place which the Lord shall choose, because the Lord thy God shall bless thee in all thine increase and in all the works of thine hands. Therefore thou shalt surely rejoice. 3 times in a year shall all thy meals appear before the Lord thy God in the place which he shall choose, in the feast of unleavened bread, and in the feast of weeks, and in the feast of tabernacles, and they shall not appear before the Lord empty. Every man shall give as he is able, according to the blessing of the Lord thy God which he hath given thee. Judges and officers shalt thou make thee in all thy gates, which the Lord thy God giveth thee, throughout thy tribes, and they shall judge the people with just judgment. Thou shalt not wrest judgment. Thou shalt not respect persons. Neither take a gift, for a gift doth blind the eyes of the wise, and pervert the words of the righteous. That which is altogether just shalt thou follow, that thou mayest live and inherit the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. Thou shalt not plant thee a grove of any trees near unto the altar of the Lord thy God, which thou shalt make thee. Neither shalt thou set thee up any image which the Lord thy God hateth. Wow. So once again, Moses has given the children of Israel all of the instructions again as God had given it to him times before. He is reiterating. Remember to keep the Passover in the month of Abib, because that's a commemoration of God's deliverance of them out of Egypt. The non-eating of unleavened bread, or rather of leavened bread, and they are not supposed to eat leavened bread during the time of the Passover. The Feast of Weeks, also the Feast of Tabernacles, all of these are feasts that were named prior, and the purpose of each one. The males were supposed to come before God 3 times in the year. 3 times in the year. All men were supposed to come before God. I really wish that denominations would keep this up. The men need it. The men need the reinforcement more than the women do. The women gather more than the men. We do a lot of talking and stuff. But I think the men need to communicate and reinforce each other much more than the women do. If you're a judge, do not take a bribe. Don't take a gift, because that's a bribe. Because you're going to be persuaded to go the way of the giver. Okay? You keep your eyes wise, as the word says. So, this is the reading, or end of the reading of Deuteronomy chapter 16. And once again, I thank you all for listening. And remember that faith comes by the hearing of God's word. Until our next reading, take care.